then I would use a loop. If I have a scenario that will repeat itself, if I have a scenario that I will do it over and over again, then I would use a loop. The question that comes in here is, what kind of loop will I use? So I have two kinds of loops that I would utilize when I am dealing with Java. The first kind of loop is what we call the finite. Finite. And then we have the infinite loops. Okay. Now, under here, we have the kind of loops that we have are the for loop. And over here, oh, sorry, the finite loops is what we have, the for loop. And then the infinite ones, we have the do while, and then we have the while. So the do while and the while. Now, when do I use do while? When do I use while? When do I use for? Remember, for each of these loops in which we have, their job is to repeat over and over and over again, is to do a particular action over and over and over again. There's something very key we need to keep in mind when we are mentioning a loop, that there has to be a stopping point. You see, we cannot write a code that never stops. So there has to be a point whereby our code can stop, whereby our code can give up and not continue. So over here, we are going to learn how we start the loop, how we stop the loop. Now, when I say do while, let's give a practical example, a real world example. Let's say that today Manchester United wins its game. And as United have won their game, I am so happy. So I decide to take the boys out so that we will have a good time. When we get there, I would listen to this sequence of events very carefully. I would tell the barman to give us all some few drinks. We will all drink, we will all be happy. And when I am done drinking the drink from the barman, then I will go and pay. That is what we call the do while. So I will do a particular action, then I will go and check if I should continue doing that action. With the while statement, if I have a while statement, then I would only check if I would do the action before I will go and do. For example, if I was using a while statement, when we went to the bar, I would check if I have money to pay. If I have money to pay, then I will tell you all that let us do what we need to do. So I will only do something if the condition for me to do it is there. Now, I would use the for when I know my starting point, my ending point, and how many turns I have to do. So if I give you a question in which you do not know when do you stop, and then you do not know when the stopping point is and how many steps you have to do, then you are going to use the do and the while. That is the do while and the while. If you know your stopping point, if you know when you are supposed to, how many steps you are supposed to do, then you would use the for. Let us begin with the for, because the for is easy. So I'll have the for keyword, then I'll have my initializer, then I'll have my condition, then I'll have my incremental, sorry, incremental or decremental. For example, I can write a piece of code like this. I can say 8 n being equal to 1. That means that my initial point of starting, where I want my loop to start. Remember, the loop means I'm doing something over and over again. So point 1, the first 10 is me starting at point 1. When do I stop? So I'll say whilst n is less than or equal to 10. That means that when I get to the point where n is less than or equal to 10, then I will what? Stop. How many 10s should I do? For example, I can say whilst n is equal to n plus 1, plus 2. That means that my number of steps is going to be what? 2. So in each step, I'm going to run through 2 times. Let me write here system.out.print and tell the computer that I want to print out n. And then I'll click on the run button over here. So down here in the run activity, I'll see 1, 2, 5, 7, 9. That means that my program is starting at 1. So you can see that it starts at 1. So for the first 10, n is equal to 1. Then it will come up here. It will check n plus 2. N is 1 plus 2 will give me 3. So is 3 less than 10? It is. Therefore, I will go and print out what I have in n, and what I have in n is 3. So you can see that over here in my code, it is printing out 3. I'll come here, I'll go to this section here first. I'll increase n by 2. So 2 plus 3 would give me 5. Then I'll come here. Is 5 less than 10? The answer is yes. So since 5 is less than 10, then I will come in here and display 5. I'll come back here. I'll do n plus 2 again. N plus 2 is 7. Then I'll put the answer in n again. So now I have 7 over here. I have 7 over here. And then when I come in here, is 7 less than 10? It is. So here would be what? 7. Hence, I have 7 displaying here. Then I'll move back here. 7 plus 2 is going to give me 9. Here would be 9. I'll come here and check. It's 9 less than 10. It is. So here will display 9. So you can see the 9 appearing here. Then I'll come back here again. 9 plus 2 is 11. Is 11 less than or equal to 10? It is not. So the program will stop. So you can see that when it gets to 9, the program does not display anything again. If I was to change this one here from 2 to 1, and I was to refresh my program again, you see that now I'll be stepping once. So my program will display 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And when it gets to 10, it doesn't display 11 and it stops. Because over here, I said that n is less than 10. So you can see that is 10 less than or equal to 10? It is. Is 11 less than or equal to 10? It is not. So it means that over here, my program will stop at 10. So for the for statement, it gives you the opportunity for you to tell the computer your starting point. For example, I could have easily told the computer my starting point is going to be 5. And so when I run this, you realize my program will start counting from 5 instead of counting from 1. So I control the starting point. I control the conditions that would stop the program from running. And I control how many times my program should run. Should it run once or twice or 3 times or 5 times? Note, n is equal to n plus 1 can be written as n plus plus. So I can just write it like this, and I know that I'm increasing it by 1. If I change here and make it 1, then I can click on this and then have it displaying like this. Please, is there any questions so far? Are there any questions so far?
No, sir.
Okay, so that is how you write the code with the for loop. I'm going to comment out the for loop, and then I'm going to write a code using the while loop. So for the while, it also has this structure where I have the while statement. I have the condition that will allow my program to start or stop. And then I have the body of it where I can put my action. So in here, I'm also going to say whilst n is less than 10, continue running. And then in here, I'm going to say system, the same thing I did here, system.out.print, and I'm going to put in the n over here. The computer immediately asks me, where from this n? Where is it? I don't have n in my record, so where are you picking this n from? That means that on top here, I have to do int n being equal to 1. The computer knows where the n is coming from. That means that when I'm doing a while statement, I have to externally state my starting point. So as you can see, with the for statement, it is inbuilt. But here I have to create what my starting point is. And remember what I said previously, that if I have a question whereby I know my starting point, then I can use the for. If I have a question where I do not know my starting point, then the question is, do I use the do or the while? So in here, my starting point is 1. And then I'm saying whilst n is less than or equal to what? 10, it should continue running. If I run this program here, something peculiar will happen. You can see that my program keeps on running 1 and it doesn't stop. It's still running 1 and 1 keeps on popping up and it doesn't stop. So let me stop it here and let's see why it is doing that. I told my computer at line 9 that n is equal to 1. I said when you come in here, check if 1 is less than 10. In this case, n is 1. So if 1 is less than 10, since 1 is less than 10, the system will display whatever that is in n, and whatever that is in n at this point in time is 1. The computer has not been given a command to increase 1 so that I can use this as my control. So to the computer, for the entire lifespan of this program, n is always going to be equal to what? 1. That means that I have to introduce a way in which I can increase and control this n in the loop. If I don't do that, then my loop would run forever and never stop. Hence, in here, I'll put in an incremental, which is n++, so that when the program runs, it knows that after the first time, n should be equal, n should be increased to 1, n should be increased by 1, the next time n should be increased by another 1. The next time n should be increased by 1. So you can see that the program keeps on increasing n until it gets to the condition whereby n is less than or equal to 10. So for the first time, n is going to be 1, then n is going to be 2, then n is going to be 3, then n is going to be 4. So we get to 10. Then when n is 11, the computer will now note that 11 is not greater than or equal to 10, so it will stop. So we keep on displaying n until we get to 11 and we stop. So you can see here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Also note that with the while statement, it will check the condition before it even starts. So before it even does anything, it will check, is n less than this? Then it will start doing this. So for example, if I made here 11, and I run this program, I will realize that nothing is being displayed for me because the computer will check and first of all note that 11 is not greater than or equal to 10. Hence, there is no need for you to continue what? Running. You would only run when n has a value that is less than 10. And more importantly, the information over here will help us to control the n so that it would increase and we can get to the stopping point. Other than that, we'll have an infinity loop in which it is not acceptable. Please, are there any questions about the while loop? If there are no questions about the while loop, then let's move to the do while loop. So under the do while, I have the do keyword, then I have my body, Then over here, I'll have the while statement. Then I'll have my condition. And it ends with semicolons. Now, over here, I'll put the action I will do, which is system dot out dot println. Then in here, I can put in my n. Remember, we haven't created n, hence I have to say int n is equal to 1 outside here. And in here, I'll put in my condition, which is where n is less than 10. Let us note that for me to not have an infinity loop, it means that I need to put in here n plus plus so that n would be increased at all times, just like the while. So if I run this, you would realize I will get the same effect as I got in the while. Sorry, let me put an equal to sign here, where I got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let us do something here, whereby I change this value to 11, which means that technically this program should not run because n is not n is 11 and 11 is not less than 10, so it shouldn't run. But if I run this, you realize that on my screen I would see 11 there, and the program should not have run. Remember, with the do, I will do it before I go and check if I should continue doing it or not. With the while, I will check before I do. With the do, I will do before I go and what? Check. So we need to know the nuances and know that, oh, when do I use do, when do I use while? If I have a scenario where I have to do something before I go and check if I should continue, then I will use do. If I have a situation where I have to check before I even start doing it, then I would use what? Wow. Are there any questions, please? Okay, if there are no questions, then let us write a program to find the average of 5 numbers. So I would demonstrate this program using the for, the do, and the while. So using the for, I have for int n being equal to 1, n being less than or equal to 5, n plus plus. Then in here, I would say system.out .print, please enter number. Now, I've told the person to please enter a number, so I must receive the number. And in order for me to receive the number, I would need the scanner what? Class. So over here, I'll have scanner, or scanner, let me say code, is equal to new scanner system.what? In. Okay, so that here, I'll tell the computer number int number is equal to int number, and I'll say int sum is equal to 0. So that over here, I can tell the person number is equal to con.nextInt, and I can also say sum is equal to sum plus the number the person is going to enter. Let us note that sum is equal to sum plus the person is what the person is going to enter. It can also be written as sum plus equal to number. So I'll prefer to write it this way. But remember, this is the same as me writing it this way. Okay, so in here, I now have I summed up all my numbers and asked the person all the numbers he wants. Hence, I can come over here and say double average is equal to the sum over what? 5. Then I can say system dot out dot print average is, and I'll put plus here and I'll say average. Now I'll run this code. So let us start from here. We'll see the first thing, I'll create a scanner class. Next thing, I'll create a variable to put my number in. After that, I would create a variable to put the summation of the numbers I will do in. After that, I will start from here. My loop will begin. So I have system.out.print. Please enter. Oh, let me type this well, number. So let me start all over again here. So please enter what? Number. So that over here, I have a place to enter the number. Remember, I didn't bring ln here. So you can see that the cursor is just here for me to type 12 and press enter. When I press enter, the number I have typed, the 12 will be taken, given to number. Then number would be added to sum. Sum is 0. So 0 plus 12 will give you 12. So right now in sum, I have 12. Then the program will come to the top here. Increase n by 1. So now n is 2. Is 2 less than 5? Yes. So since 2 is less than 5, I'll come here and type 13. And you can see that this will be displayed again. I'll enter a number, it will be taken again. And sum is 13, so sum is 12. So 12 plus 13, the answer will be taken and put in sum. I will continue doing that. Oh, sorry. I typed a comma. Since a comma is not an integer, I stop. But let me do 10. Oh, let me start again. Let me do here 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. So that I know that my average is going to be what? 10. Because all of this will give me 50. 50 divided by 5 is 10. So I have my average. So this here will allow me to do this operation here, where I can take multiple information because I'm taking a number over and over and over and over again. For me to be wise and for me to write a program that will make more sense to the user, I can bring a comma here, a plus here, and a code here, so that in here, I'll put here n. Okay? Now, if I do this and I run, when the person is seeing the screen now, he would see, please enter number 1. So that the person will enter the number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. And then he'll get this. You see, careful placement of what I will display. Me just bringing the n here. The n is coming from here. N is 1. So if you are reading it, you see, please enter number, whatever that is here, which is 1. But for the user, he will see it as please enter number 1, please enter number 2, please enter number 3, number 4, number 5. And this is what he would get as the effect of what is going on. Also, I could do this. I could say, yes. So this is what we have. So this is us finding the average using the for statement. Please, is there anything anyone does not understand? Can I go on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now I'm going to redo this whole thing, and then I'm going to redo it using the while statement. So I'm going to say while n is less than or equal to 5. So I need to know where my starting point is. So I'm going to say int n is equal to 1. Go and do, sorry, let me do this. In here I have int n being equal to 1. I have while n is less than or equal to 5. Then we want you to do all of this. Mhm. Mhm. Now, over here, I'll put in my n plus plus so that the computer can count the n and make sure it is not an infinity loop. So again, the program will start at 1. It will check, is 1 less than or equal to 5? It is. So it will enter here. Over here, what is in n will be displayed. Then it will collect the number, it will add the number, then it will increase n by 1, then it will come back here. N will be 2, then it will do it again, then it will do it again. When it is done, then it will come and find the average and show me the answer. So when I click here, I have, please enter number 1, which is, let's say, 5. Number 2 is 5, 3 is 5, this is 5, this is 5. So my average is what? 5. So it works just like how the other one works. It is the same thing for the do too. So for do, I'm going to change this one and turn it into do. Oh, sorry. Do. But the do has the while statement at the bottom. And remember, don't forget that the while statement at the bottom has a semicolon. So the same structure, I'll run it. I have 1, that, and then it tells me what my average is and why my average is there. So this is the loop. This is how the loop works. Now, all the examples I have given you, you would realize that I set n is equal to 1 and I use that to do what I have to do. Let us go back a bit, back here, and I'm going to tell the computer that it should not use n is equal to 1 anymore. So it should use number that the person will enter. And if the number the person is entering is less than or equal to is less than 0. So if the number the person is entering is less than 0, then the program should stop. I'm going to say the number is equal to 0. And then over here, I'm going to count the numbers that I have. So here I'm starting at 1. So this is going to count them for me. Then here I'll do it over the number that I have. So that over here, I would say system.out.print. The sum is this. System.out.print. The number of, let me do the number of loops on top. So here, number of loops is going to be n, and the average is going to be sum. Okay. Perfect. Now in here, I said it's less than the number. Okay, let me put in greater than, yeah. So if the number that is being entered is greater than the number, is greater than or equal to 0, then we should come in and do this. If it is less than 0, then we should what? Stop. Okay. So let's see if what I have done would make the sense I'm trying to do. So I'll start my program. In here, it says enter a number, I'll enter 5, then 4, then 5, then 2, then 3. You can see that now my program can go and I can find the average of how many numbers I want. I don't even have a limit on the numbers I want. But the moment I enter -1, then my program is going to stop, tell me that I did 17 tens, and then my sum is this, and then the average of my numbers is this. Again, they are all appearing on the same line because over here, I didn't bring ln and ln here and ln here for it to control how it should display. So I click it again, and then I would see it appearing like this. I can find the average of how many numbers in which I want. And when I am done, I'll just print a minus sign so that my program is going to what? Stop. Are we okay? Are we okay? So you can see that it is not always that you would have to use the incremental to control. Sometimes you can be smart to know how, you see, when I use the while statement, it means I don't know how I want the program to stop. So it is not every single day that you would know how many turns the person will take. There are times in which the number of turns you will not know. So you have to find a clever way to stop it. For example, when you are doing your Momo, you realize that the clever way they use to stop you from utilizing the Momo or working with the Momo or running the Momo is that they'll say press 2 to stop. So over here, I could have told the person, do you want to continue? If yes, press 1. If no, press 2. When they press 2, then I'll put in the condition where answer is equal to 2, continue. Where answer is equal to 1, then you what? Stop. Things like that. So you see, there are clever things you see in your day-to-day life that is using this approach. So whilst a person has not pressed this, you continue doing it. When he presses that, then you what? You stop. Also, let's bring it back to what we did earlier, where we were doing the program to add the program to just display numbers between 1 and 10. So when we had this, and this was 10, and then over here we just said it should display n. Now, you see, because I brought the ln over here, it means that each time it was displaying, it was going to a new line. Oh, it is running an infinity loop because I didn't bring n++ here. So let me stop it and run it again. You can see it displays on a new line. I could remove the ln from here and run it again. And you will see that it is displaying everything on one line like this. Now, over here, I can add the plus, and then I can add the space so that when I click here, it will display everything, but it will give a space so that you see 1, 2, 3 like this. I could add a comma over here and click on display so that now when it displays 1, it will display comma 2, comma 3, comma 4, comma 5. You see, having full control of the display will allow you to display things the way you want. So if someone asks you, oh, display the first 40 numbers, or better still, display the first 100 even numbers. I could just put 2 here. Over here, I would say n is equal to n plus what? 2. Then in here, I would change this one from 10 to 100 so that I know that it will start from 2 and each time it will increase by 2. When I press this, I'll see I have 2, 4, 6, 8, and it goes up to what? 100, and then it stops. So I've displayed the first 100 even numbers. You see, clever placement, clever understanding of how I would make the steps will allow you to display and control your program in a way in which you want. Are there any questions, please? With that in mind, it is not every day that your loop will just be 1. There are days where you would have a loop which is inside another loop. So in here, I have int n being equal to 1, where n, or let me do here 0, where n is less than or equal to 10. And then, or let me do it less than 10. And here I'll do n plus plus here. N plus plus here. In here, I would repeat this statement here, but this time I will do for int I being equal to 0, I being less than 10, I semicolon I plus plus. Great. Okay. Now, in here, I'm going to put in system.out.print. And then in here, I'm going to put in double quotes. And I'll put in star. And then just so that it goes to the next line, over here, I'm going to say, move to the next line over here. So just a system.print ln over here so that it knows it has to go to the next line. Now, when I run this program here, what do I get on my screen? I'll get star, 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 10. Then star, 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 10. Where is this coming from? Let's see it critically. The program will start. Or better still, to showcase what I want to do very well, let me redo this. But here, I'll make this 0. But here, I'll change this from to char. And I'll say this is going to be A. And this is going to end at A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. So it is going to end at J, K. Let's say it ends at J. So J. Of course, it is a character, so it has to be just 1 quote, not 2. And then in here, I would say display for me, I. And then in here, I would say display for me, N. Okay. So this piece of code here that I did initially with the stars, I will hide them so that when I run this, I'll have this. Perfect. Now, in order for you to see it very well, I would bring a plus here and a space here. And then over here too, I'll bring a plus here and a space here so that they will space out a bit for us. So here I have this. Perfect. So I have 0, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I, 1, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I, and so on and so forth. This is what we call an inner loop. So I have one loop here, I have another loop being formed here. The program will start here. n is equal to 0. So I'll start here. Is 0 less than 10? It is. So I'll come in here. System.print n. N is 0. So 0 will be printed, then a plus, then a space. So here I have 0 and then the space being printed over here for me. Then I'll start the inner for loop. The inner for loop is starting with I is equal to A. So here I is A, so A will be displayed here. So I have AB displayed over here. Then I have plus space. So I have plus, the space is being added to the A, so it means I have A and then space. Then I will come back to the top here because I said increase what you have by 1. If you increase A by 1, you get to B. So you have B. It will go back. Increase B plus 1, then you get C. So each time I'm displaying what you have in A, and each time I'm displaying A, B, C, D, E, I. The next one after I is J. So J is not less than J. So the program will stop there. When it stops there, it will come here. It says print a new line. So it will print a new line and come here to 1. Then it will come to the top. Remember, we started with n is equal to 0. So now n will move to 1. And then it will enter here. So here will be 1. It will display. So we have the 1 being displayed here. Then it will do the loop internally again. Then it will go to 2, everything. Go to 3, everything. If you are very observant, you realize that the outer loop is controlling the column. And then the inner loop here is controlling the what? Rows. If you are a very observant person, you realize that whenever you are doing your web or you are doing your databasing, this is how the information is saved as a table. If you want to do your 3D sketches, it means that for the 3D sketches, you have a loop in another loop. Then you can have a 3D imaging of an application. For your level, we have to do just a loop in a loop. So we have one loop and we have another loop. Normally in practice, we use this for matrices, we use it for vectors, we use it for arrays, and we use it for tables or managing tables in the database and so on and so forth. So if you are very observant, you realize the outer loop is for columns, the inner loop is for the rows. You can see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This controls the columns. And then we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I here, which is the rows. So you can see that the inner one is controlling how the rows are displayed onto your screen. That brings us to what I did earlier over here, whereby I brought the *** application there. So if I want to demonstrate the star applications onto my screen, the outer loop is controlling how the thing comes down, and the inner loop is controlling how the thing displays on the row, and I have my star application like this. Are there any questions, please? So a quick recap of what we did today. Today, our job was to learn the loop. Our job was to learn what is a loop. We have the for, we have the do, we have the while. When do we use do? When do we use for? When do we use while? We're also supposed to learn a nested loop. So here we have a loop and we have another loop in it. So this loop is nested in the loop outside. So we have a nested loop. As always, I'll make the video available to you. And for this week, I'll give you a set of questions that you are supposed to go and solve in your free time. And if you have any problem with it, just let me know. It involves you writing star applications, which involve the nested loop and then the inner loop and outer loop scenario to display items onto your screen. If there are no questions, we will take a break so that you guys can go and eat and do what you have to do. And then we'll reconvene for our second class at what time does the second class start again?
Is it 3 o'clock?
Then we'll reconvene at 3 o'clock for the second class. Today we'll be learning about databases and how we can create a database. Thank you for coming. If there's no question, then I'll bring the class to an end.
Thank you, sir.
Enjoy your day. Bye-bye. We'll use the same link, okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay.
But we'll come back at 3.
All right, sir.